You might think the clutter in your home is just about stuff. But it's not the broken lamp or old sweater that's weighing you down, it's the invisible cost of what you're focusing on. Every time we try to declutter after 60, we tell ourselves we're being productive. We're sorting, stacking, wiping, organizing. But what if the real problem isn't what we keep, but how we quietly waste our limited energy doing things that never truly lighten the load? At this stage in life, your time isn't just precious, it's sacred. You've already spent decades managing homes, raising families, making decisions. Now, you deserve a space that feels calm, easy to care for, and supportive of the life you want today, not the one you had 20 years ago. But too often, we put our time into the wrong tasks. We do what looks productive, without realizing it leaves us right back where we started, tired, surrounded by the same piles, and wondering why it never seems to stick. Today, we're not just decluttering. We're protecting your peace. These aren't just useless tasks, they're energy leaks. Quiet little traps that sneak into every declutter and steal your motivation. And once you learn to spot them, you'll never waste your time on them again. If that sounds like the kind of peace you're ready for, hit that like and subscribe. Because here on Wise Aging Seniors, we help you age lighter, not busier. Marcy wasn't a messy person. In fact, anyone who stepped into her home would say it looked tidy enough. Pictures straight on the walls, couch cushions always fluffed, kitchen counter wiped clean. But behind closet doors, under the bed, and in the corners of rooms she rarely used, there was a different story quietly piling up. At 71, Marcy had lived a full life, 3 grown kids, a retired teaching career, and decades of memories packed into keepsake boxes, old albums, and drawers that hadn't been opened since the early 2000s. She wasn't a hoarder. She was just someone who had lived, and like many, she had saved pieces of it all. But lately, something had shifted. It wasn't just about space. It was about energy. Marcy found herself standing still longer before making decisions. She'd open a cabinet, sigh, and close it again. The mental weight of "someday I'll get to it" started leaking into her everyday peace. Even though the house was clean, she didn't feel calm. What finally nudged her to start decluttering wasn't a dramatic event. It was a quiet moment one morning after breakfast. She reached for a teacup at the back of the cabinet and accidentally knocked over a row of mismatched mugs, souvenirs, forgotten gifts, chipped favorites she no longer used. As they clattered to the floor, Marcy sat down and whispered, almost laughing at herself, "Why am I still holding on to all of this?" She didn't know it then, but that question would be the start of a gentle revolution. Marcy didn't want to throw her life away. She wanted to unpack it with care, to choose what still served her now, and finally release what didn't. In this video, we're going to follow Marcy's journey through 7 common traps she faced in her effort to declutter after 60. These aren't just useless tasks, they're deeply human habits that many seniors fall into. But once she saw them clearly, everything began to change. Let's walk with Marcy, and maybe see ourselves along the way. Useless task 1. Polishing things you don't even use. Marcy never thought twice about it. Every Sunday morning, like clockwork, she'd put on soft jazz, tie her apron, and start polishing the crystal bowls and figurines lining the dining room hutch. Some had belonged to her mother. Others were wedding gifts from 40 years ago. A few she couldn't even remember receiving. But she polished them all the same, wiping fingerprints, shining glass, dusting edges. It was part of her routine. It made the room look kept. Or so she thought. But one day, she paused mid-swipe, cloth in hand, staring at a glass bird she hadn't moved in over a decade. It hit her. Not once in 12 years had she used it. No one ever commented on it. It just sat there, taking her time, her energy, and her attention. Marcy sat down, cloth still in hand, and whispered out loud, "Why am I caring for this more than I care for myself?" That question opened a door. Because the truth was, it wasn't about the crystal. It was about the habit. The belief that keeping things pristine somehow made the home feel alive. But in reality, the home felt heavy. Like she was maintaining a museum instead of living in a space meant to nourish her. Here's what so many seniors miss. Polishing, cleaning, or maintaining items that have no purpose or presence in your life today is a quiet burden. You're not just cleaning. You're investing energy into something that no longer gives anything back. The fix isn't radical. It's simple. Take a moment to really look at those unused items. Ask yourself, would I buy this again today? Do I truly enjoy seeing or touching this? If the answer is no, it may be time to thank it for its season and let it go. Not because it has no value, but because it already served its purpose. You don't owe it your time anymore. And don't fall into the guilt trap. Keeping something spotless doesn't prove love. Love shows up in how we care for ourselves, how we make room to breathe, and how we welcome peace into our homes. Polishing something you never use doesn't add beauty, it adds pressure. Be honest, do you polish or clean things just because they've always been there? Let us know in the comments. You might be surprised how many others feel the same. Useless task 2. Sorting what you should be releasing. Marcy always considered herself practical. She believed everything had its place, even the clutter. Her hallway closet, laundry room shelves, and old office drawers had become carefully stacked zones of organized chaos. Papers bundled with rubber bands. Random electronics stored in plastic bags. Expired lotions, decades-old bank statements, tangled cords from devices she didn't even own anymore. She thought keeping it all just in case was wise. When she decided to finally declutter, she didn't start by letting go, she started by sorting. She laid everything out on her dining table, electricity bills from 2002, faded warranty cards for appliances she no longer owned, pay stubs from her substitute teaching years. It felt responsible. Like she was being thorough. But hours went by. By dinner, the table was filled with neat piles, and not a single item had been thrown away. Marcy looked at the paper stacks and sighed, well, at least it's sorted. But something about that didn't sit right. The house didn't feel lighter. She didn't feel free. Just more stuck. The next morning, as she sipped her coffee and stared at the piles, she heard her own words echo back. I don't even want to deal with this again. That's when it clicked. Sorting wasn't solving the problem. It was postponing the decision. So she made a new rule. Touch it once. Decide fast. Let it go. Marcy realized not every item deserved equal attention. A tattered receipt didn't need reflection. A warranty from 1998 didn't require sorting. She wasn't curating a museum. She was reclaiming her life. The memory of her son's college graduation wasn't in the hotel receipt, it was in her heart. That was enough. This is where so many seniors get stuck. Sorting feels productive, but it can be a mask for hesitation. A way to feel busy without making change. And it drains your energy while keeping the clutter intact. So if you find yourself making piles but avoiding decisions, pause and ask, am I honoring this item, or just avoiding the real choice? You don't need a second look at everything. Some things serve their purpose and now deserve release, not review. Touch it once. That's your power. And if it doesn't add value to your life today, you're not discarding your past. You're simply refusing to carry it where it no longer belongs. Have you spent hours sorting only to find more stress than clarity? Tell us in the comments. Someone else needs to hear they're not alone. And they'll be braver because you shared. Useless task 3. Saving things for the wrong people. Marcy's hallway closet was like a time capsule. On the top shelf, a porcelain tea set from her wedding registry, never used but still wrapped in tissue. Below that, a plastic bin of her children's grade school trophies. And tucked into the far corner, stacked boxes labeled for the grandkids. Inside, VHS tapes, outdated board games, books yellowed with time, a full encyclopedia set from 1978, and even her late husband's high school yearbooks. She wasn't hoarding. She was holding on. Saving things, just in case they might matter to someone else. One day, her daughter came by with her own 2 kids, teenagers. Marcy, beaming, pulled out a velvet-lined box of silver-plated cutlery and said, "These are for your hope chest." The look on her granddaughter's face said everything. Polite smile, awkward silence, eyes already looking away. The truth hit hard, they didn't want it. Marcy later admitted, I thought I was preserving something meaningful, but I was just assigning value that no one else felt. Here's a hard truth that many seniors quietly discover too late. Most younger generations aren't interested in inherited clutter. They value experiences over things. They stream shows instead of watching VHS tapes. They Google everything. They don't want a shelf of encyclopedias. So why do we keep it all just in case? Because it feels easier than asking. But assuming is dangerous. We end up organizing our lives around fantasy recipients who never asked for the burden. That old punch bowl may remind you of a happy dinner party in 1982, but to your family, it's just another heavy item to move, store, or rehome. Here's the fix: ask directly. Make a list. Snap photos. Share them with your loved ones and say, "Would you want this?" And if the answer is no, that's your release. It doesn't mean the item was meaningless. It means it served its season. You can honor something without keeping it. You can love a memory without preserving the object. You're not giving up, you're choosing peace over pressure. And here's a powerful shift. Instead of forcing items onto someone else, donate them where they'll be used and appreciated now. That heirloom tablecloth? A local theater might use it in a play. Those books? A school library could treasure them. Let the stories live on, but not in your storage bins. Have you ever saved something for someone who didn't want it? Share your story below. And stay tuned, because the next task is the one that keeps most seniors stuck for years, and you might not even realize you're doing it. Useless task 4, making a maybe pile that grows and grows. The maybe pile feels innocent enough at first. A small stack of books you might read again someday. A bag of clothes that might fit if you lose a little weight. A box of kitchen tools you haven't used in years. But hey, you might host that big family dinner again, right? Marcy, like many of us, created her maybe pile with good intentions. It was just supposed to hold a few things she wasn't sure about. One laundry basket turned into 2. Then 3. Before long, the hallway corner meant for her indoor plants was buried beneath layers of indecision: coasters, scarves, a half-broken blender, even greeting cards from birthdays long past. It wasn't a holding space anymore. It was a dumping ground for decisions she didn't want to make. And here's the thing about maybe piles: they whisper promises of future clarity. I'll decide when I have more time. Maybe I'll need this later. I'll wait until I'm in the mood. But that moment rarely comes. So the pile sits, and grows, and becomes a quiet source of stress, not peace. Psychologically, maybe isn't neutral, it's a suspended decision. And suspended decisions drain mental energy. Every time you pass that pile, even if you don't touch it, your brain registers it as unfinished business. That's weight you carry, even when you think you've moved on. Here's what finally broke the cycle for Marcy. She realized that her maybe pile wasn't protecting her from mistakes. It was preventing her from progress. So here's the fix. Set a simple boundary: nothing stays in maybe longer than 3 days. Create a small holding bin. Yes, just one. Label it clearly. If something's in there, mark the date. After 3 days, you decide: keep or release. No adding extensions. No revisiting. If it still feels uncertain, it likely doesn't serve a strong enough purpose to stay. And here's a bonus tip: keep your maybe bin physically small. A limit on space creates a limit on delay. The smaller the bin, the faster you decide. Your home after 60 should support clarity, not stall it. If something doesn't clearly serve your current lifestyle, giving it a second or third review often adds more confusion than comfort. You're not being wasteful, you're being wise with your emotional bandwidth. Do you have a maybe pile hiding in your garage, guest room, or back closet right now? Be honest. Share it in the comments. Decluttering doesn't start with throwing things out. It starts with choosing what you no longer want to carry forward. Useless task 5. Waiting until you're emotionally ready. Marcy had the best intentions. Every week, she'd glance at that overflowing bookshelf in the corner or the storage bench stuffed with winter scarves and tell herself, "I'll get to it when I feel up to it." She wasn't being lazy, she genuinely believed she needed to be emotionally ready. ready to say goodbye to old memories, ready to face decisions that felt heavier than the objects themselves. But weeks passed, then months. And that readiness? It never came. The clutter stayed. Her motivation didn't. Here's the truth most seniors quietly struggle with. Waiting until you feel ready is one of the greatest traps in the decluttering process. Because emotions tied to stuff don't just vanish on their own. They shift when we engage with them, slowly, gently, in motion. One morning, Marcy decided to do something different. She didn't wait for inspiration. She made it a ritual. 10 minutes, right after her morning coffee, before checking the news or talking to anyone. She'd set a kitchen timer, pick one drawer, one shelf, or even just one item. That was it. No pressure. No drama. And something surprising happened. The act of starting, even in small ways, created momentum. She didn't need to be in the mood. She just needed a rhythm. Some days she did more than 10 minutes. Some days she didn't even finish one drawer. But the key was consistency, not intensity. That's what many people get wrong. We believe decluttering needs emotional strength, clarity, or a burst of energy. But it actually thrives on routine and gentleness. You don't have to feel ready. You just have to begin. Here's the fix. Stop tying your decision to declutter to how you feel in the moment. Instead, tie it to a simple, daily routine. Something small, repeatable, and grounded. Right after brushing your teeth. Right before your afternoon tea. Pick what works for your life rhythm. And if a wave of emotion hits you mid-process, that's okay. Pause. Breathe. But don't retreat. Place the item down and return to it tomorrow. Readiness is not a prerequisite. It's a result of taking small, steady steps. There's a quiet power in choosing action over anticipation. Over time, you'll notice something shift, not just in your home, but in your heart. Lighter, calmer, clearer. Have you been waiting for the right mood to start letting go? Be honest in the comments. You're not alone, and your first step might be as simple as setting tomorrow's timer. Useless task 6. Buying organizers before you let go. Marcy stood in the aisle of a trendy home goods store, cart half filled with stackable bins, clear drawer dividers, matching labels, and a sleek rolling cart she swore would solve the craft room chaos once and for all. It felt productive, hopeful, even. She'd watched organizing videos online, seen the crisp before and after pictures, and imagined her cluttered corners transformed into Pinterest-worthy spaces. She spent $200 that day. But when she got home and began organizing, something became painfully clear. She hadn't removed a single item from the room. She'd just shifted things into containers. New containers. Stylish containers. But the same old stuff. The room didn't feel lighter. Just more compacted. This is one of the most common and costly mistakes seniors make when trying to reclaim their space. Buying organizers before letting go. We treat storage as a solution to excess when, in reality, it often enables it. Here's the truth, organizers aren't magic. They're tools, not fixes. And they only work when there's clarity about what needs to stay. Otherwise, they become decorative distractions, boxes that hold delay, not progress. Professional home coaches across the US now emphasize a vital principle for seniors: don't buy a single bin until you've decluttered. Why? Because most seniors already have enough storage space. It's the overflow that makes it feel like they don't. What helped Marcy finally shift her approach wasn't another trip to the store. It was emptying one shelf, completely. She laid everything out, held each item, and asked, "Does this truly support my life now?" Only after clearing the excess did she revisit the idea of organizing, and by then, she realized she didn't need half the bins she'd bought. Here's a better rhythm. Step 1. Declutter first. Step 2. Measure what's left. Step 3. Shop for organizers only if necessary. And when you do shop, choose tools that fit your current habits and mobility, not what looks trendy. A basket too deep to reach into or a label too small to read is a frustration, not a solution. Have you ever bought organizers hoping they'd solve the mess, only to feel stuck with prettier clutter? Share your experience in the comments. You're not alone, and your clarity doesn't come in a box. It comes from within. Useless task 7. Trying to declutter like you're 30 again. Marcy had always been the strong one. The kind of woman who moved her own furniture, painted her own living room walls, and prided herself on getting things done. So when she finally decided to tackle the basement clutter, she didn't think twice. She grabbed a folding chair, moved the heavy laundry baskets herself, and started dragging boxes out from under the shelves. "I just wanted to finish it all in one day," she later admitted, "like I used to." But 2 hours in, she felt it, a sharp pull in her shoulder, followed by a tight ache that didn't go away. The next morning, she could barely lift her coffee cup. What started as a productive day ended with ice packs and doctor visits. This is one of the most dangerous traps seniors fall into when decluttering, trying to declutter like you're 30 again. We remember how we used to move through a room with energy, speed, and muscle. We forget that the body we live in now deserves a different kind of respect. And it's not weakness. It's wisdom. Trying to power through clutter all in one go isn't just exhausting, it can be harmful. Lifting awkward boxes. Climbing onto chairs to reach the top shelf. Crawling under beds. These aren't just tasks, they are risks. And for seniors, a single wrong movement can mean months of recovery or even permanent injury. But here's what no one tells you: gentle decluttering is just as powerful. You don't need to push. You need to pace. Declutter the senior smart way. Sit while sorting. Use a sturdy chair or bench and keep items within easy reach. Use tools designed for your comfort, a grab-a-stick, rolling cart, or lightweight tote. Ask for help with anything above shoulder height or heavier than what you'd carry to the mailbox. Break tasks into small zones, one drawer, not the whole dresser. Marcy learned to create a rhythm that matched her body's reality, not its memory. One shelf a day. One box per weekend. Her progress didn't slow down. It became safer, steadier, and more sustainable. And the results? The same peaceful home, but without the pain. Remember this: you've earned the right to do this gently. Don't let urgency rob you of safety. The goal isn't to finish fast, it's to finish well, with strength, clarity, and no regrets. Have you ever pushed yourself too hard trying to declutter? Tell us in the comments. Your story might be the reminder someone else needs today. When Marcy first began her decluttering journey, she thought it was just about clearing space. A few boxes here, a shelf there. But what she didn't expect, what truly surprised her, was how different her entire life began to feel once she let go of the right things. Her home didn't just look different, it breathed differently. The tension in her shoulders lightened when she walked through her hallway. She stopped tripping over bins she meant to get to someday. There was no longer a pile of guilt staring at her from the guest room. Her space didn't whisper, "You're behind." Instead, it said, "Welcome. Rest." She said it best herself: "I finally feel like my home is walking with me, not against me." That's the shift we're after. You see, decluttering after 60 isn't about getting rid of things to impress anyone. It's not about minimalism or magazine-worthy rooms. It's about liberating your energy. It's about fewer decisions, fewer obligations, and more calm. More room for movement. More space to breathe. Because after 60, your life has already been full of responsibility, giving, and care. Now, your space should give back to you. It should support your peace, not compete with it. And the truth is, many of the useless tasks we talked about today aren't really useless in the traditional sense. They are familiar. They are habits. But they quietly pull you in the wrong direction. They trick you into thinking you're making progress while keeping you in place. So now, I'll ask you gently, but firmly, which of these 7 traps have you fallen into? Be brave. Drop it in the comments. There's no shame here, only honesty, and the freedom that comes with it. Because the more we name these habits, the more power we take back from them. You are not behind. You are not stuck. You're just one small shift away from feeling lighter. And if this video helped you breathe a little deeper, or made you feel seen in a way you didn't expect, please take a moment to hit that like button. Subscribe to Wise Aging Seniors so you never miss the encouragement you deserve. And most of all, share this video with someone who's ready for a softer, freer way to live. Because aging well isn't about doing more. It's about carrying less, with clarity, courage, and compassion.